Hello everyone, I am Dr. Charu Agarwal, working as an Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, AKGEC Engineering College. Today I will be covering the Unit 4 of the KHU 802 Project Management and Entrepreneurship subject. I have also discussed with you some of the topics of the Unit 3, and we see that in the Unit 3 is totally related with the project management. Now, this unit, basically Unit 4 is related with the, you can say, the financial aspects which are involved in the project. For each and every project, some of the financial aspects are involved in that, and for that, and in this unit, what are the basically how we go for the capital budgeting and all these things are involved. Okay, so let's have a brief idea about what are the different topics which are involved in the Unit 4 of the KHU 802 subject. The unit, basically the heading of this unit 4 is the project financing. Okay, because to implement, to put your idea into an operational one, finance is very important, the cost is very important. No one is having that much finance with them to put that project, put your idea into an operational one. For that, the costing is involved, the finance is involved, the money is involved. So what are the various factors that we need to see, or we need to have the knowledge of various factors or various terms if we go for the project financing, because this is very important. So in this unit, we will be studying the project cost estimation and about the working capital requirements, what are the sources of funds, how we do the capital budgeting, risk and uncertainty which are involved in the project evaluation, preparation of the projected financial statements, with the projected balance sheet, projected income statement also, projected funds and cash flow statements, preparation of the detailed project report and the project finance. So you can see that all these topics, all these different heads, they are somehow related with the project financing. Okay. So the first point, before discussing anything, the first point that we need to consider is the financial feasibility. We see that in the Unit 3, in the project life cycle, that in the first stage, the conceptualization stage, we need to do a kind of the feasibility analysis. So the one of the very important kind of the feasibility analysis that we need to do is the financial feasibility. हम कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट करने चाह रहे हैं, कुछ भी करने चाह रहे हैं, whether we are having that finance, whether we are having that much of money, or if suppose we are not having that much of money in my pocket, so is my project have that much capability or that much worth that I can attract the finance from the market also. Okay, so financial feasibility is the process of identifying the overall investment outlay, means the total investment framework. You can see what are the total investment, the whole investment structure. We need to then in this process we also determine the expected rate of return and evaluating the project financially. Okay, so you can see there are the three things are involved here. One is the process of identifying the overall investment outlay. Second is identifying the expected rate of return, and the third is evaluating the project financially. Okay, so you can see that here, that we need in the feasibility analysis, what we do, we first find out the total investment outlay, that how much investment or how much budget we need at the time of the initial in the initial state or at the 0th point, then in the first year, in the second year, in the third year, and what is the time, and according to the time frame that we have settled, like for 4 years, for 3 years, for 5 years, till we mark that our project is completed or in the running stage. Okay, so for that we need to make a investment framework or investment outlay. Okay, based on that, if suppose we have find out that we need to invest like 10 CRs in the project, okay, then we need to find out that what are the expected rate of the return, because if we are not having a good rate of return, then why we are doing that project? Okay, no one is doing any project to make the loss. All the persons do the project to have the profit. Okay, the profit in terms of the monetary also, the profit in terms of the happiness also, or delivering a social relevant product also, like NGO also. Okay, so we need to have the expected rate of return. At least nobody wants to go into the loss side, to go into the negative side. Okay, so based on that, we evaluate whether we go for that project or not. Okay, so whenever we go for any project, what we need to do, we need to find out that how much money is totally involved in that project from the starting point till we mark as the completion point of that project. Based on that, we need to find out, considering all the factors, internal, external and all, we need to find out what is the expected rate of return. Okay, मतलब अगर हम आज इतना पैसा लगा रहे हैं तो हमें कितना किस रेट से हमें रिटर्न मिलेगा. Okay, so based on that, if we are in the positive side, then definitely we will decide that we will go for this project. And if the rate of return is like considerable rate of return is there, if suppose we see that no, the rate of that we are actually go for a loss project, okay, so it may be possible that we discard that project and we will not go further in that project. Okay, so first we need to have an outlay of the total investment. Based on that, we need to find out the expected rate of returns also, and after that we will decide that whether we go for that project or not. So that is known as the evaluating the project financially. Now, financial feasibility is crucial for any organization. Why we need to have the financial feasibility? Why we need to evaluate the financial feasibility of any project? So financial feasibility is crucial for any organization as it influences the firm's growth in long term. Because how we actually take the finance, okay, what are the different sources of the finance, from where we gather the finance, that actually influences the firm's growth in long term. Okay. Second, it affects the risk of the firm into consideration. Whatever be the risk, whatever be the firm that we are considering, it affects the risk that are related with that firm also. Okay. Along with that, it involves huge quantum of funds. Okay. In that, huge quantum of funds is also involved, means a lot of the funds are involved in that. A wrong decision with regard to investment of huge sum of funds may prove fatal for an existing firm. Okay, so if we take any wrong decision regarding the investment, okay, because whenever we are going for a project, a large sum of funds are involved in that. Okay, so for that, if we take any wrong decision, so what happens, that it may prove fatal for the existing firm. Okay, so we should be very careful while we are doing the financial analysis, financial feasibility of the project, because it's very important. Because just having a wrong decision, it may lead to the whole failure for the project. Okay, so here we can understand that doing the financial feasibility in a correct way, in a right way, considering all the parameters is very, very important. Okay. So, a careful analysis of the cash outflow and inflow. Okay, so there are the two terms which are involved, cash outflow and cash inflow. What is the meaning of the cash outflow here? Cash outflow means how much cash is going from the firm. Okay, means cash दूसरों को जो देना है. Okay, so that is the cash outflow, means flowing outside. Okay, from inside to outside is known as the cash outflow. And cash inflow means whatever the cash which is coming to your organization from the outside. That is the cash inflow. Okay, so what are the various things in which we need to make the cash outflow, in which actually the cash is going outside, like whenever you are purchasing any machinery, any land, any raw material, electricity bill, taxes and all all these are the cash outflow in which you need to pay. Okay, that is the cash outflow. Cash inflow means whatever be the cash coming to you, means whatever be the profits you are earning, that is the cash inflow. If you are gaining any interest on the what are the deposits you made into the bank, that is the cash inflow. Okay, so cash inflow means the cash which is coming into your firm, that is the cash inflow. So we need to do a careful analysis of the cash outflow and inflow, means how much money is going and how much money is coming. If suppose, for example, if suppose the cash outflow for my company is suppose 5 CR in a year and the cash inflow is like 4 CR, then what happens? We are in negative because we are paying more and we are gaining less. Okay, so it ultimately lead to the loss. Okay, other way is that if suppose cash outflow is like 4 CR and the cash flow in like the 5 CR, so it means that we are in the positive state and we go for that project. Okay, so we need to find out the cash outflow and cash inflow in the financial analysis of the project. So a careful analysis of cash outflow and inflow is essential before applying any capital budgeting techniques. Okay, so we need to find out that how much cash is going outflow and how much cash is coming inside. Based on that, we will decide. We will do the capital budgeting. Okay, now what is this capital budgeting? We will see in detail in the later on, but here just for the capital budgeting is the process of identifying, evaluating and selecting a project that requires large sum of funds and generate long-term benefits in future. Okay, so capital budgeting techniques are those techniques in which we actually find out that how much the investment is required at the initial stage, at the first stage, second stage, third stage, and the number of the years, continuing number of the years that we are actually considering. Okay, so in this process we identify, we evaluate and select a project. Okay, we identify that what are the different finances involved at the various stage, means we need to find out we need to make a financial outlay of the project and we need to evaluate that financial outlay, and based on that we select a project that whether if we are making a profit, we go for that project. If we are not making the profit, if we are going into the loss, then it may be possible that we discard that project. Okay, because each and every project involves a large amount of funds. Okay, and that generates long-term benefits also in the future. If we go and take the right decisions in each of, then we may generate long-term benefits in future from the project. Okay, so it's a process of identifying, evaluating and selecting a project that requires, that project involves a large sum of funds and may generate the long-term benefits if needed in the future. Okay, so that's the capital budgeting that we will discuss in detail later on. So we can see that how the financial feasibility is important. Now, as we discussed, what are the steps in financial analysis? Estimation of the cost of the project, then estimation of the project cash flows, then estimation of expected rate of return and the application of the decision rule. Now, the steps which are involved in the financial analysis, just have a look of that. The various steps involved in financial analysis are estimation of cost of project. So, there are various components of the cost of the project. It mainly consists of two types of cost. One is the fixed investment and other is the working capital. Okay, so the first step is that in the financial analysis, we need to find out the cost of the project. So, in finding out the cost of the project, there are two main components which are involved. One is the fixed investment. Fixed investment means if suppose to develop any project, what we need? We need land. Okay, so land is a fixed investment in which we need to make the investment one time. Okay, in future if we go for the expansion, in that case we purchase more land, but that consider in the expansion plan. Okay, so when you are purchasing the land, it comes under the category of the fixed investments. Fixed investments, like if you are purchasing the land, if you are constructing your building, if you are purchasing your machinery, so all these comes under the category of the fixed investment, जो कि आपको करने ही है to convert your idea into a project, into a running project. Okay, The second point which is involved in that, that is the working capital. Working capital means whatever be the money that we need for working of the, for day-to-day working of the organization. Okay, that's the capital working that we need. That's the working capital that we need to, that actually involve the, through which we work. So the cost of the project include all cost which is incurred before commissioning of the commercial production or operations. Okay, so here the cost of the project not include only those, it includes all the cost which are needed for running the project and which are needed before the actual commercial product. Okay, to develop, basically to develop that project means to pass through all the phases of the life cycle. What is the cost involved into that? Okay, so all that cost incurred, that comes, that we consider in the cost of the project also. Okay, so working capital, current assets minus the current liabilities, which means that whatever be the current assets we are having, and in which we, current assets means whatever be the what we have assets minus the current liabilities, what we need to pay to the others, minus to that we have the working capital, means the cash inflow minus the cash outflow, we have the working capital with us. Now the second point is the estimation of the project cash flow. Project cash flow means this estimate involves all the project cash flows during the life cycle of the project. It includes the initial investment, cash flows generated during operation and at the termination of a project. Okay, so estimation of project cash flows include that in this we estimate that all the cash flows during the life cycle of the project which are involved. Okay, project life cycle, we just saw in one of my lecture that in the project life cycle 4 phases are there. One is the conceptualization, second is the planning, third is the execution, and fourth is the termination. So in each and every phase, okay, when we are considering the, it's estimate the project cash flow, we need to consider each and every phase, and in each and every phase how much cash flow is involved. Okay, so that total cash flow is, we need to estimate for having this financial analysis. Okay, so this cash flow, project cash flow estimates actually involve the cash flow which is involved during the life cycle of the project. It includes the initial investment, cash flows generated during the operations and at the termination of the project. Okay, what are the initial investment we need to make to start the project? Okay, what are the cash flow that we generate during the operation, whether it is a cash outflow or cash inflow, and what is the cash we involved at the termination of the project. Okay, so I hope you understand this, that the project cash flow includes all the cashes which are, all the cash flows which are involved during the life cycle from the start till the termination. Okay, at the start how much investment we need to make, and during the various phases of the life cycle how much cash goes outflow or inflow, and at the termination of the stage how much cash is involved. So that is that we need to, for all this we need to make an estimate. Okay, so we can say that the cash flow is the net amount of cash being transferred into and out of the business in terms of the income and expenditure. Okay, so what we expect a positive cash flow. So this is very important. You can say, what is cash flow? Cash flow is the net amount of cash transferred into and out of a business. Okay, in terms of the income and expenditure. Income means what is the amount of money that is coming into the business, that is our income. Okay, expenditure means how much it is going from the organization, that's the all the expenditure. What are the expenses we are making, what are the bills we are paying, all those that the expenditure, whether it's a raw material for acquisition of the land, for construction of the building, for purchasing of the machinery, and for paying the taxes of the government, raw material, maintenance, all these are come under the expenditure. Income, whatever, when we have a finished product with us, we are selling it to the customers, and whatever we are generating, the income from that, the money from that, that's a come under the income. Okay, so net amount income minus expenditure, that is the net amount you are having, and that is, you can say that the cash flow. So if income is more and the expenditure are less, okay, so if we say that is the income minus expenditure, okay, if income is high, okay, and expenditure is low, in that case that it result into the positive, okay. If it is high and if it is low, तो हमारे पास क्या होगा, we are having a positive cash flow. Positive cash flow means we are in profit. Okay, positive cash flow means we are in profit and we can go, definitely we can go for that project. Okay, but if suppose we find out during the estimation that our income is low and the expenditure are more, then it is resulted into a negative point. Negative cash flow means that we are in loss, okay, or we will have loss in future. So we need to give a careful thought that whether we go for this project or not, because initially we see that it leads to ultimately to a loss to the company. Okay, so it may be possible that we decide to discard this. Okay, so these estimation of these two factors is very important. Correct estimation of these two factors or is very, very important, or at least close to the approximation is very important. Okay, so what we desire a positive cash flow, because अगर positive cash flow है, only in that case we are making a profit, and nobody wants to develop a business in which we already know that we are in loss. Okay, now the next step in the financial analysis is the estimation of the expected rate of return. So this is very important. Okay, if suppose we decide that we are having a positive cash flow and just go for this, okay, along with that we need to find out the expected rate of return. What does this mean? That today I am investing that much amount of money, in how many years, basically how much money I get back. That is the expected rate of return. By what rate of return the money comes back to me. Suppose I am investing today like 1000 rupees in any of the project, okay, for example, in how many months, in how many years, like by what amount the money came back to me. Okay, so that is the expected. So based on that we will find out the rate of return. So for financing a project, there are many of the sources of funds which are involved, and we need to seek the funds from the others. Okay, what we need to do, we need to project our idea, we need to present our proposal in front of the investors, and the investors actually give us or tell us that whether they are investing, whether they are interested in our project. For that we also need to show to them whether we are going into the profit or for the loss. Based on that they will decide whether they are actually making the investment in your company or not. So there are the number of the sources available in the market that we will discuss later on. What are the different sources of funds that are available? So after careful evaluation we design optimum capital structure for the firm. Okay, and based on that the expected return from the project we need to find out, which actually involve two components. One is the risk-free component and other is the risk component. Risk-free component means this is the amount that actually comes to us, okay, and that actually have low return. Means for example, if we just take a government like investment example, like suppose we go for the fixed deposit scheme of the banks. In that we know that the returns are low. Okay, in that we already know that the return are low, but there is no risk in that. If suppose we did the fixed deposit in the company for like the 2 lakh rupees and we suppose have the return like 6% return, so that return is fixed. कि मतलब वो तो मिलेगा ही मिलेगा, like it's in the sense of that. So here it is risk free, like okay, that return we will get in future. Okay, so here we are having the low return. Okay, but if you want the high returns, in that case you need to go for the risk components. If you go for the risk components, that may have the high returns. Like if you invest in any of the project of your friend that says you, I will give you the 10% of the return, okay, or 18% of return on every year. So that's the return is high, but here the risk is involved. You don't know whether the project will go into the right direction in the future or not. So here the returns are high, but the risk is also involved here. Okay, so that depends also that whether you are going for a risk-free component or a risk component. Okay, got the point? So low return involved and the high returns are involved. So you can calculate this return using this formula. What is the financial value minus the initial value divided by the initial value. Okay, so based on that you have the rate of the return, and you can say that the rate of return is the net gain or loss of an investment over a period of time. Okay, for a period of time you can find out that whether you are actually your return is will go into the positive direction or in the negative direction. Okay, so based on all these parameters we actually go for the decision rule. Okay, we will decide based on the our cash flow whether we are having loss or profit, or based on the rate of the return also. If it may be possible ki you are having a profit but your rate of return is very low, so in that case also you may reject that project. So you will so finally you apply the decision rule. This is the last stage of the financial analysis to apply the various tools for checking the financial feasibility of the report. Capital budgeting are the techniques which are applied to ascertain the profitability and the expected returns from the project. Okay, so first we find out the project, the investment in the project, cash flows of the project, then the expected rate of return, and based on all these parameters we will decide that whether we will go for that project or we will not go for the project. Okay, so guys, these are the various steps which are involved in the financial analysis, which is a very important topic to decide whether we go for any idea and convert that idea into the operational plan or not. Okay, so this is all about this financial analysis. Thank you so much. Thank you.